Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm KROOF, and today we're going to be talking about the Catalyst. Now, yesterday I was doing a full live stream going over the Catalyst for 3 hours in PvE and in PvP. I've played this quite a bit, and I have a lot of thoughts. Today it is going to be somewhat of a build video, but I do want to talk about my overall impressions with the Catalyst. Now, I probably will make a video later down the line after the beta finishes where I give more detailed recommendations of reworks or possible redesigns. However, I want to just kind of talk about the overall kit and my impressions and just go over baseline the things that I find to be very in need of work, I will say. So let's go through and start kind of how I was starting the stream. Let's go through each of the attunements. So for fire, of course, it's the ranged one. It's your fire ranged. You have a bunch of range access on fire and also air. However, your 5th skill is melee. It's thankfully a blast finisher, and comboing becomes extremely beneficial with this Elite Specialization. But it is a little strange that the 5th skill is so melee focused. And in addition to this, a lot of the ranged, in my opinion, of course, this is a video from my opinion and my perspective, the fire ranged doesn't feel as great as the air range. The air range 2nd skill is just so hard hitting. It applies a lot of vulnerability. It feels really great. The 4th skill is a really nice distance creator, allows you to stay at ranged. The 5th skill, the animation, I think could be a little different. I don't know if you need like the pass-through damage, if this was just like a lightning bolt that shoots down and it's an orb of lightning that detonates after a minute. Not a minute, like a couple seconds. I think the animation could be a little bit more improved, but nevertheless, already going off on a tangent. I think the air is perfectly fine as a ranged weapon, but I would maybe like to see it around maybe even like 750 range, 800 range. Hell, you could go 900 range if you want to make it more standard. 600 to some degree feels a little too close range and still puts you a little bit in danger because the Catalyst so far isn't necessarily the most tanky thing out of all of the Elementalist elite specs. So where does that leave fire? In my opinion, I think fire is perfectly fine as a melee weapon or as a melee attunement. I honestly would be fine just having one of the attunements have that adaptability. Plus it would give a little bit more synergy with F1, F2, and F4. Having 2 ranged, I feel like I always pick air over fire. But if they made this into a melee strike where if you critically hit an enemy, it sends one of these fire orbs behind them, similar to the old Assassin Shiro sword skill in the betas for Heart of Thorns, I think that could give it an interesting range idea. But overall, I think this might just be better off being a more so melee weapon. The duality is an interesting idea, but I don't know if it really feels as cohesive as it could when you do half and half. Now, of course, reiterating, one attunement I think would be nice diversity. Now I want to talk about the 3rd skill, these orbs. I have a problem with these orbs. When I activate these orbs, my brain immediately goes into Weaver. It immediately goes into swap to all of your attunements and press Grand Finale, because the Grand Finale feels so much more impactful than any of the passive Rocky Loops or Crescent Wind, these orb passives. These feel much weaker than the Grand Finale, and it kind of sets me in that Weaver mindset. And I don't end up using any of the other attunement skills while I have any coil up. Perhaps if I'm leaping off a cliff, I will, but most of the time I just tend to swap directly into the attunements. Additionally, these passives last very short durations, only 5 seconds, and I don't really feel I can get a lot out of them because the cast times on the hammer are so long. I don't really feel like I can get much use out of the fire passive where I do more damage, or the air passive where I'm getting an increased crit chance. I think these modifiers, these unique modifiers that are not boons, these buffs, I should say, these have a really big place in Guild Wars 2, and I love that they're playing around with them. I think Elite Specializations should offer more unique boons. However, in the case of the hammer and the orbs, I don't think the third skill is all that great. I don't think the orbs necessarily need to be on this weapon. Perhaps leave it for another elite spec. But I think having this weird, consistent third skill that is basically a profession mechanic in and of itself, and we haven't even gotten to the F5, it creates a really weird play style with this. There's already so much going on the hammer with 2 ranged, 2 melee. Now the third skill is giving you an orb, or you're now a weaver, and you're just focusing on going in and out of each attunement to get use out of it. In my opinion, they aren't all that great. So what I would like to see, I know this is pretty drastic, I would like to see all of these orbs be gone. Be gone, orbs. I would much prefer if these were interesting skills unique to each attunement. So for rock, we should also have some more combo fields on the hammer because it is so combo focused, and also the traits are so combo focused. I think having another combo field, something to combo in, would be nice. So for the third, this could be like a mud stream where you like slam your hammer on the ground and it creates a line of mud. Perhaps it's a poison field or something, but it does some damage. It does like a little packet of cripple and you can blast in it. Maybe not a whole long duration. For air, you know, you could have another ranged ability that does like a flurry of projectiles. For water, you could have something else. I don't know. And for fire, same as well. The orbs have created too much bloat in terms of ideas on this elite spec. And that kind of sums up my impression of the whole catalyst, the catalyst as a whole. I think there is so much going on in this elite spec that it's really hard to get any grasp of it. And even when you think you have a grasp of it, you realize you're not really doing anything impactful. You're not able to really survive more than you can on a Weaver or say a Tempest. And you're definitely not doing as much damage as you could on a Weaver or a Tempest in more standard settings. I know people can do golems and have most pristine conditions with all the boons and buffs, fighting a stagnant golem, but is that necessarily translatable to the open world or raid environments? I don't think so. In terms of water, the one thing I would maybe like to see is Cleansing Typhoon to leave an ice field around you, or even a water field, something. Or maybe that, if they got rid of the orb, the third skill could leave a water field. Condition removal is fine, but if it added a field, that would be lovely. In terms of air, I really love air. My only qualm is maybe to add a different spell effect. Instead of it being a projectile, it shoots down a lightning bolt and kind of explodes after 3 seconds or however long this lasts until it detonates. So, you know, air's fine. And then in terms of earth, I have to say, earth is somewhat disappointing. More disappointing than the others because I was feeling that earth was really going to get to shine with a weapon. I know earth, you know, people can use it. It's a bit more defensive, but with the hammer, I was like, this is the prime time for earth to be crazy. And it's not amazing. It's interesting, and I think it has some good ideas, but I think they needed to be expanded upon a little bit. I talked about this before, but Stone Strike, the animation is so similar to Dagger 2, and also a rune of the earth, I believe, or a sigil of earth. When you weapon swap, it creates an earthen ring around you. It's so similar to that. My friend and I were talking about this, and the Earth Djinn have so many more interesting earth mechanics where they kind of expand outwards. And I think updating this animation to some of the more, you know, newer earth spikes such as this would probably be a little bit better. But I also think Stone Strike should add a little indicator. Currently, not indicator, but change a little bit. Currently, water is a 3-strike melee skill. That applies till at the end. It feels much more impactful. In the case of Earth, you're just doing an AoE strike. This feels like the final hit in an auto attack chain. So if they added 2 strikes before this, they added like a bleed to it at the final hit of the auto attack chain, that might feel a little bit better to be in Earth. Next, Whirling Stones. This skill is extremely slow. I like it. I like that you have to dedicate yourself to this skill. However, it should be a bigger payoff. I'm fine, and I think it's cool that we are perhaps going into a realm with slower hitting strikes and, you know, longer cast times. But the effects should be a little bit more rewarding. The damage is fine, the bleeding is fine. I actually think because the hammer is supposed to be more sustainable and allow you to stay in that fight, Whirling Stones should allow you to gain a little bit of barrier, about like 200 barrier per successful strike, because you are doing it so slow. People move out of it, people can dodge, people can also interrupt a 3¼ second cast time. It's quite a lot. So I think adding a barrier application to this would be pretty interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4. And also, you know, when you are in that skill, you can't necessarily heal yourself anyway else. So you really have to commit to that. But with that commitment, I do think there should be slight defense application of this. Nothing to make you completely invulnerable, like, you know, invincible to being down when you are in this spell, but something to just give you a little bit extra love. Rocky Loop, of course, I would love to be something different. Perhaps a little mud field or a mud slide thing, and it creates a poison field, and then you can combo in it with a ground pound. Of course, you know, all that stuff. Immutable Stone, I actually like it. It's fine, but it's your only minor aura application. It is not consistent enough to be the only aura access on this elite spec, and I'll get into that in a moment. And then we have Ground Pound. Ground Pound, I think, is the best skill on Earth. It's really lovely. I really enjoy it. So next we have the 5th skill, Deploy Jade Sphere. Once again, this I think is the case of trying to do too much. I mean, let's just do a quick rundown. We have the orb mechanics that turn you into a weaver mindset when you're going through each attunement to, you know, weave self essentially. And then once you have them all, you use Grand Finale, which is, you know, kind of like Woven Stride or whatever, you know, the Weaver Elite is. And on top of this mechanic on the hammer, we have the Deploy Jade Sphere. This is a energy system where you have to build energy in combat, and then it will use 2 energy all at once with a maximum of 30 energy. So in total, you only get 15 seconds out of this sphere in PvE. You get 10 seconds in PvP, and get this, in PvP in World vs. World, it only does 6 damage. It's not a CC skill. Why is it only doing 6 damage? If anything, like 100 damage, like something a little bit more, but 6 damage? That's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. And that's the whole PvP topic, but this is, of course, is PvE, so. The one thing about this, it's interesting, and it could have a place. Okay, we're gonna combo this, and we're gonna, okay, we did some damage. Oof, got very low. Look at that, almost dead. The thing about this sphere is that it only sits at a maximum energy of 10 when you're out of combat. It will degenerate to 10 energy. It's not movable. And because it's not movable and it takes so long to build up, if you're not taking one trait, and that's also another thing, there's only one trait that gives you energy to help with the spheres. And I understand it's with the bottom line to focus in on those spheres. But if you're not really going for that boon duration, that boon play style, and perhaps you want to go for more tanking or more, you know, a little bit extra elemental empowerment, if you want to play with those auras, with the hammer, the only way you can really gain those auras on the hammer is by deploying your Jade Sphere and comboing in it. But sometimes it's so small, it's so stagnant, the combat moves so fast. It's a situation where you're like, do I want to go travel back to my sphere to gain an aura for a couple seconds? Or do I want to start chasing down my target to finish the fight? So I think the Jade Spheres just don't feel super great. Additionally, they're on the same internal cooldown as swapping attunements, which I think is a big no-no. Because if you were in a sticky situation, as I have been in many times, I'll swap to water and try to use my Deploy Jade Sphere immediately to then combo in it with a Crashing Font. However, I have to wait that like about 1.52 seconds of that cooldown before I can even summon it. And especially in competitive modes, in a time span of 2 seconds, you can be dead, especially with the power creep on those existing elite specializations. And yes, I want to emphasize power creep. They really got to look at those core elite specs. The whole cooldown of it, you see, I can't even go into 5. I can only then go into 5 after a duration, and because combat is so quick, activation times, especially on the core mechanics such as the sphere, should be faster because the hammer is so slow. I'm trying to use Deploy Jade Sphere in the water, yet I have a 3¼ second cast time on Crashing Font, which I love, but it takes time So it's a long window of just getting bursted down. So I have a lot of problems with the Jade Sphere. You know, it's not the best in its current iteration. I think that the energy drain should only be 1 second in PvE. I also dislike that recalling Jade Sphere loses any remaining energy. I think this doesn't need to happen because in any circumstance, I will not be canceling my Jade Sphere just for the sake of a, you know, minor increase in cooldown, you know, being able to apply it faster. Because if I lose all my energy, I have to start from, you know, 0 again. I have to build that up to maybe get to what? 5, 10 energy in a fight because it takes so long to then deploy it for 3 seconds, 2 seconds. It's really hard to get any use out of this Jade Sphere. It doesn't follow you. It's not even replaceable. It's not even relocatable. So in the idea of relocating the Jade Sphere, I think this flip over, recall Jade Sphere, it shouldn't destroy it. It should relocate it to your current position, so long as the Jade Sphere is up. On a cooldown of like 3 seconds, something like that. 2.5, 3 seconds. Nothing as quick as the Ventari tablet, because I do think it's a great idea that you have to kind of commit it to a location. And it's not like, oh, I messed up, easily relocate it. I do like that there are drawbacks to these professions and, you know, does require some skill and planning. So that's what I would prefer to see. Recall Jade Sphere to your current location instead of destroying it and losing all your energy. Especially in PvP. I mean, it does 6 damage and it only lasts for 10 seconds if you're at maximum. If you're not at maximum, it lasts like 4 seconds, so you don't get any use out of it, really. Yeah, so that's the sphere. Next, we're gonna go into kind of the build now. So now we're gonna go into the Catalyst build itself. Now, I've been seeing a lot of snippets on Reddit. Someone is posting a bunch of videos on Reddit with them saying, why don't you guys love Catalyst? I'm doing great on it. Look at all this damage. And they're taking all of the core utilities, dagger. They did do something with the hammer, which was impressive with air mostly, because air is really great. I do think air attunement is fine. When I see those videos of people making builds and they're like, oh wait, you guys are overreacting, Catalyst is great, and they're only taking the trait line, to me, that is a failed elite spec in terms of the build potential. If someone can only make it work if you neglect the hammer, the new weapon, if you neglect also the profession mechanic, because honestly, no one's really using them because you can't get any use out of it right now, and they're not taking any of the new utilities, such as the augments, you're only taking 1/4 of the build. And so elite specializations, they are not just a trait line. If ArenaNet wanted to add and, you know, create complexity with the game, they could just be adding trait lines and give them to core professions, but that would like mess with a lot of balance and stuff. They do this specifically for your expansions with the hammer to make it kind of mesh well, with new utilities to hopefully make it mesh well, with a new profession mechanic to hopefully make it mesh well. And so Catalyst, where it currently stands, only 1/4, perhaps half of it is fine. So when I'm talking about a build for the Catalyst, you will see me taking all of the utility skills and focusing on those profession mechanics, as I do with all of the elite specs. And I, you know, back in beta 1, I did get comments about people saying, oh, look at how like slow you killed that thing, take other things. I'm like, that's not what I'm here testing. That's not the point. That's, in my opinion, that's not what we really should be doing. Yeah, we can play around and test these things and be like, oh, this interaction's cool. But for the most part, my perspective is I want to test the elite spec as that elite spec. And then afterwards, we can start getting into the theory crafting of mixing in core profession utility skills, mixing in and matching other weapons. But for now, with this, I am going to be focusing in on the Catalyst as its pure entity, as I will with the Bladesworn and the Vindicator. Augments are stances with glyphs. Stance glyph hybrids that feel very strange and underpowered. Soothing Water is basically Ether Renewal but weaker and less reliable. You get a pulsing heal over 5 seconds, which gives you about probably like 6,000-7,000 healing depending on your stats. It's on a 25-second cooldown, but you have to have Water Sphere active. But even if you have Water Sphere active, depending on how short it is, you might not be able to get your cast time off of 1/4 of a second cast time. You might not be able to get it off, or you might not necessarily be in the Water Sphere to begin with, or you might be in another attunement, and Water's attunement is on an 8-second cooldown, but you need to heal right now. So you're not getting that Condi removal. Instead, just take Ether Renewal. Ether Renewal is so much more consistent. It's so much more reliable. It's on less of a cooldown. Yeah, it has a longer cast time, but you're getting 8 pulses of around 700 healing, 800 healing, depending on your healing stats. Or just take Glyph of Elemental Harmony. It's on a 20-second cooldown, gives you a lot of healing and some pretty strong boons. So overall, Soothing Water is probably one of the weaker heals that Elementalist has ever gotten. One way you could change this is by increasing the healing flatline. Increase the healing to 2,000 per pulse. And then while you're in Water Sphere, your healing per pulse is increased by 25%. And you gain the condition removal baseline. You gain Condi removal, just baseline. It doesn't need to be in the Water Sphere. Water Sphere could just increase the amount of healing if you stay in Water Sphere rather than just casting it. And that's another weird thing. You have to cast it in the sphere. You can't cast it and then go into the sphere, similar to like Fortified Earth where it's a long cast time. And then if you get into the sphere, you're not going to gain that barrier anyways because you have to cast it in the sphere, which makes it even more clunky. So then we have Fortified Earth. Fortified Earth is my favorite augment. It's good. I like it. You have to be an Earth attunement with the Earth Sphere deployed to gain that barrier, which I think is perfectly fine because the block is 3 seconds. The one thing though, you have to be very cautious because you can get CC'd out of this, but that would maybe incentivize you to take like staunch auras. So then Relentless Fire, I really enjoyed as well. It's a 15% damage increase. Unblockable, you only gain 1 unblockable for 5 seconds, and that is not good. That is so weak. If anything, if you cast this in Fire Sphere, you should gain like 5 stacks unblockable for 8 seconds. And then Shattering Ice. Shattering Ice is fine. I do think the damage should be bumped up a little bit in PvE and maybe in PvP. And then in PvP, drop the number of targets down to 2. But the damage, I think, should be baseline around 200 because it doesn't feel super great. And then we have Invigorating Air, which is perfectly okay. It's interesting enough because your endurance regeneration is so wild. But instead of the super speed, or in addition to the super speed, I think it'd be awesome if you use this in Air Sphere, you also gain like 25 endurance flatline to give you a further increase in that dodge ability to help survive and to help maintain yourself. And then we have Elemental Celerity. I've said this multiple times, and I believe I said it in the overview video as well. Elemental Celerity is really cool, 8-second duration. I think the cooldown reduction on your own skills is an interesting idea. I think it has a place. However, I do think the interval should be half a second to make this feel more worthwhile as an elite, to be like, oh, I'm really getting a lot of hits now. Now I've gone full, almost like slight berserk mode where I'm casting a bunch of spells. My weapons are coming off cooldown so fast, especially like with Hurricane of Pain, this works so well. But if you use this with like Whirling Stones, you might not get the most out of it because it does take so long and people can just stun lock you and, I don't know. But Hurricane of Pain, this tends to work very well with this. So if you use a bunch of abilities, then pop Elemental Celerity into Hurricane of Pain, it's really fun. And then just start doing some auto attacks to get extra decrease. But like that part of the skill. The one part that I don't like is the boons. Now, you might have realized that I mentioned this way back in when I first started the video, but we only have one constant aura application on Immutable Stone. Actually, it's not even constant because you have to get hit. So this isn't as reliable. It's not guaranteed. And it's only one access to an aura when a bunch of your aura traits have maximum stacks of 5, which means you should be able to at least get to around 3 or 4 stacks. Maybe you'd have to rely on a Tempest or some other class to give you that one final stack. Sure, I'd be fine with that. Okay, like that's fine. It incentivizes Tempest gameplay. It gives a niche to being paired with another Tempest. However, I can rarely get to 2 stacks of this. So these traits are woefully weak right now because the aura application on Hammer and on the kits of augment skills is not there. Plus, you only gain an aura every 10 seconds when you combo. That's nothing. That's nothing. And these only last for 6 seconds. So you're definitely not going to be getting 2 auras out of this. You have to then combo and then get a guaranteed block on Immutable Stone to get, what, 4% damage reduction, 4% increased damage and condition damage? Like, it's not that's not worthy of picking. If anything, you take the other traits because these are just really weak right now. I like the idea. I would actually like to see Elemental Epitome go down to 8 seconds in PvE. 8-second, I think, would be okay. But back to Elemental Celerity. So if you're in water and you pop Elemental Celerity, you gain an Ice Aura. If you're in air and you pop Elemental Celerity, you gain another Shocking Aura. So on and so forth. I think having an aura application for yourself is perfectly fine with that elite. I guess it does kind of feel like Weaver, but we are already in this area of auras. Self-aura preservation, I think, is an interesting idea. Tempest, of course, focuses on aura application of allies. Yeah, I really don't know what else to say. I feel like I'm just talking like ad nauseum, like at length. My stream is turning up in 10 minutes. I gotta wrap this up. So guys, I've been like playing with the Celestial build right now. I'm doing Rune of Strength, I guess. I'm gonna run in Hammer, Leeching, and also Force. To give myself some access to like defense stuff. Let's hop into this and we're gonna just start doing Hurricane of Pain. Hurricane of Pain is lovely. But see, I have to already swap out of air, but I wanted to use another skill because these last for so short duration. Okay, we managed to get all 3 and then we're just gonna use them all. But while I'm using those spheres, I do feel slightly bad because I'm not getting, I don't feel like I can get a lot out of those. While with the Weaver's Elite, those buffs last for about 20 seconds, which really allows you to get a lot of use out of those. I think it's covering too much in the Weaver's territory with the 3rd skill and the weaving idea. You know, we leave that to the Weaver. It was already super successful in the Weaver. I don't think it needs to be another facet of this. Okay, I gotta be careful. See, I'm already dying. I'm already dying. You wanna hit me? Okay, no, never mind. See, there's nothing in PvE. I didn't get the aura. Couldn't get the aura, so now I'm just down. So everyone, thank you so much for coming. I hope you guys had a lovely time. I hope you are enjoying Catalyst. I'm not being facetious when I say that because I want there to be people out there who do find enjoyment in anything that is added to the game, because that is most importantly important. But overall, I've been hearing a lot more critique than I have heard praises. So I do hope they take a hard look at this. But comment down below your thoughts about the Catalyst. How do you like the hammer, the sphere mechanics, the augments, the traits, etc., etc. Auras. How do you feel about those? And, you know, subscribe. I am an official Arena partner, so if you'd like to pre-order End of Dragons and give your feedback, of course, be able to test things and all that stuff and play the new story, you can definitely use my links down below. If you want to buy the existing expansions or try the game for free, you can as well. And Patreon's down below if you'd like to get some early access to videos. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. I gotta go stream now. Bye, everyone. Mwah!